we can all agree that everyone has a sense of humor. It just comes in all shapes and sizes. As the saying goes, one man's joke is another man's poison. Some people may be better at expressing humor that suits more people's tastes. Some people are just less adept in saying the right things at the right time. And if one doesn't exercise his or her sense of humor often, he or she goes into a vicious cycle where he loses even more sense of humor. However, no matter what kind of bores you've met so far, you know that everyone is born with a sense of humor. But here's the key point: what can you do with humor? Sure, you can have fun with it, or else why do people pay for the comedy shows and those comedy channels? You can also use it to reduce tension, find a great bargain, and keep your children in their seats, you name it. There are 1,001 uses of humor, and they always supposedly lead to an ultimate goal: laughter. Laughter is powerful, much more powerful than most people have ever imagined, and will ever know. Let me explain. Human beings have an obsessive desire to remain consistent. It is psychologically impossible to dislike the person who has already made you laugh genuinely for more than 5 times, because humans can't handle the incongruity between laughter liking someone and disliking someone. In other words, women tend to get closer to a guy who has consistently made them laugh. This not only occurs at a logical level, oh, being with him gives me so much joy and I want more, but also at a subconscious level, maintaining consistency. Once we were made laugh by someone, it would be very inconsistent if we still maintained an antagonistic attitude towards that person. Therefore, I use laughter to make women fall in love with me. And the more women I could make laugh, the better I get. But I realize that I can't possibly make all the women in the world to fall in love with me. That's why I wrote this book for you. That's why I've decided to share my techniques of making women laugh. I only have this one question for you: why must you learn to make women laugh? Since you've bought this book, you've made a commitment. And I made a commitment to make sure you get the most out of this book and completely transform you into a much more humorous and attractive person. Yeah, I know being funny would be a nice quality to have. It would certainly benefit many aspects of your life, and blah, 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 but would it really matter if you stay the way you are? It's nice to be humorous and all, but why can't you settle for whom you are right now? Maybe I sound crazy, but what I really want you to think about is this: is making women fall in love with you through laughter a must for you or a should? We never achieve our shoulds. I should exercise more, I should stop watching TV now, I should improve my public speaking skills. We only achieve our musts: I must finish this project by Wednesday or I'll be fired, I must leave now or I'll miss my plane. We all get what we must have. So must you be a funny guy? Intolerance of your present condition can ignite changes, just as tolerance of your current conditions will prevent changes. Introduction: what kind of book is this? Since you have bought this book, I assume you are smart and have no time to waste. So let me point out the most important fact of this book: it is not a book for entertainment. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? A book about being funny isn't funny. I've done my best to chisel away all the fluff which would otherwise have been there for pleasure reading purposes, or simply to blow up the content to make the book look thicker or longer, for that matter. I want you to have the right mentality when reading the book. This is not a leisure bedtime reading, nor is it going to offer you an abundance of anecdotes. If you want leisure reading, go surfing the web. I want you to get the most out of the time you can afford to spend on this book, and I'll promise to make every word worthwhile. I don't want to waste your time by making you read paragraph after paragraph of useless information. All you need are some tricks and techniques, and then you just have to go out and apply them. In other words, this is a book that is condensed with years of experience, research, and tried and true techniques, and it's up to you whether to skim through it or read every page carefully to get the most out of it. This book is certainly not about theory. It is designed to improve or transform you. It is primarily designed to work as opposed to entertain. Some of the exercises involve intense mental practices and may appear a little bit strange, bizarre if you will at first. But you have to trust me on this one. Do exactly as I tell you, and remember, the more you participate, the more you get. I'm sure in your entire life so far, you have made many, many, many women laugh, and sometimes you can get pretty good at it, sometimes with a particular woman or under some particular circumstances. This book has a very specific objective, which is to show you how to make women laugh and fall in love with you through laughter. It aims to provide you with a systematic and foolproof approach to fully unleash your potential to make women laugh and fall in love with you. Of course, by the time you can do that, you'll have had tons of fun and become a more attractive. Those are the secondary gains. Part 1 of this book gives you an overview as well as the right humor mentality before you start delving into the techniques. Part 2 equips you with the knowledge of dealing with women in a more general sense, which serves as a catalyst to humor and laughter. Part 3 shows you the basic mechanism of humor and ground knowledge of making women laugh. Part 4 deals with continual perfection of your skills to make women laugh and other topics such as dealing with frustration and rejection. Don't treat this book only as a reference. It is designed to empower you with the ability to make women fall in love with your own style of humor. Treat it as a course and participate 100%, otherwise you will not benefit fully from my years of experience and research. What else? Keep in mind, humor doesn't work all by itself. It has to be supported by other qualities and works only if certain conditions are met. For example, you have to be able to start a conversation and get it going in order to demonstrate your sense of humor. Are you the kind of guy who is brave enough to stop any beautiful woman on the street and pick up a conversation with her at ease? That's called confidence or being out of your mind, whatever you call it. Many men talk unsatisfactorily. They often say things they don't mean to and frequently regret about what they should have said and could not. You see, making women laugh is not just about knowing the techniques and applying them. It's also about an inner game you play with yourself constantly. And that's why a portion of this book is devoted to the topic of becoming a good conservationist in general. Wouldn't you want that, to be able to talk to anyone comfortably and make everyone like you? Making women laugh at your will requires hard work and practice. I once asked a friend of mine who is popular among women why he's so good at making them laugh, and he replied, "Experience." Being an inquisitive guy, I then asked where he got all his experience from. He said with a grin, "By boring the heck out of lots and lots of women." 3 simple steps to being funny. 1. Open your mind and absorb. First of all, I ask you to maintain an open mind and give yourself a chance to absorb everything taught in this book, which is the culmination of my years of experience and research. Take your time to digest the materials presented in this book. Mastering just 1 or 2 techniques will bring you a great deal of improvement, but attempting to apply them all at once won't be as effective and beneficial. Be patient. I suggest you read this book at least 3 times while putting at least 60% of the techniques to use in your own life. While reading, reflect on what you did right in the past. Did you stumble across it on luck? What could you have done but never did in the past? How would you handle it again if you were given a second chance? Imagine some real-life situations and do some role-playing, either with yourself or with a friend. No, it's not silly, or you can go straight to the world and get instant feedbacks. 2. Shift in mentality. You will never become a funny guy until you see yourself as one. And whether you see yourself as a funny guy depends a lot on what you say to yourself. An average human being talks to himself or herself about 800 times a day, including those silent words you say to yourself. And what do you say to yourself on a minute-to-minute basis? Do you always talk light-heartedly to yourself with humor, or do you bore yourself to death? Have you already put yourself into the Norma Joe category, or do you seriously consider yourself God's gift to women? Words are mirrors. If you see yourself as a funny guy, you'll naturally find unlimited inspirations and confidence to instill laughter into life. If it's the other way round, you'll see things as dull and lifeless. And do you know that funny guys actually joke with themselves all the time? To them, humor is not a technique to employ in specific conditions. Instead, it is a way of life. To those guys, making women laugh is as simple as being themselves. Wouldn't you want to be like that? See yourself as a funny guy and start talking to yourself like one. 3. Take massive action. Take action. Take action. Take action. Take action. I'm sure you have heard this phrase 1,000 times, and I won't insult your intelligence by ranting more on this. Just remember, reading through this book several times you can become a great theorist, but that doesn't do you much good if you just sit there and keep imagining things. At times, you might be tempted to say, yeah, I know that stuff, I've read all those. Chances are that you understand it, but don't know it. If you are not doing what you know is right, you don't know it. So take action. Make mistakes. Hey, you should be prepared for that. Once you have got used to rejections, you won't fear them anymore. We tend to bloat up the fears of that we haven't yet fully experienced. The fear, the worry, and the stress all come from making them more daunting than they really are. What is rejection to you? What is rejection from women you hardly know? What is rejection from a completely stranger to you? Do you understand it? Do you know it? Making women laugh should be fun and rewarding if you're mentally prepared for what it takes to make women laugh and fall in love. It can be a numbers game, we'll talk about that later. Take action. The humor habit. You'd certainly agree with me that successful habits define successful people. Likewise, your future is determined by your daily routine. If you don't form a habit of constantly practicing things you want to be good at, you'll never be. And if you don't control your habits, you'll end up being controlled by them. Therefore, as you discover more and more techniques in this book, I want you to commit to developing the habit of joking with yourself constantly. Apart from that simple day-to-day act, practice constantly by exploring opportunities to role-play with people around you in your own imagination. For example, one thing I found particularly effective is talking to the host when listening to the radio or talk shows on TV. Just imagine yourself to be live on the show. What would you say or act to be funny? You should practice the techniques taught in this book one by one as you go along. And modify the techniques taught in this book to suit your own personality and style. What I offer you here are the tested and proven formulas that worked for me. They will almost definitely work for you, too. But in order to fully unleash your power of humor, you need to constantly fine-tune the details on your own. Part 2: Dealing with Women. Universal laws of women. Before delving into the tricks and techniques, let me point out some basic laws of how women behave. I don't want you to just go out and dump all your knowledge onto them. You gotta know the smart ways of making women laugh. You gotta know how to use the least effort to produce the most laughter, and keep it going. Don't waste your effort by using the wrong tricks on the wrong women. So here are the ground rules in dealing with women. Women are emotional. They care more about how they feel than how they think. Generally, women tend to be less logical than men. That's why laughter is extremely important and why good humor works on them most of the time. Have you ever seen hot babes giggling non-stop at some other men's jokes which aren't funny to you at all? Did you find yourself thinking, hey, that joke wasn't funny at all, what's wrong with her? See? You were using logic. Whatever can amuse a particular woman is funny. Period. Focus on the emotional effect on women, not logical effect. What delivers emotion? Not words themselves, but pictures these words create. In order to make a woman feel, you need to send mental pictures to her mind. Use very descriptive and evocative language to make her feel amused. Women interpret humor differently and laugh for different reasons. And most women are easily disturbed by ideas that they are not used to. It's a natural self-protection mechanism. For example, if they laugh at sexual or ethnic jokes openly in public, their images would suffer more than men do. That's why a woman is less likely to laugh at unorthodox jokes. So keep in mind that you as a man find funny may completely fail to entertain a woman. Even if you chose the right material, you may still fail to make her laugh. There is still one step missing. A woman must want to be made laugh by you in the first place. It's illogical. It's counterintuitive. I know. But have you ever stopped to give some thoughts to what women like in general? Astrology, romance novel, window shopping, female magazines. Have you read one before? Those should tell you something. Women don't stop to think, hey, this joke is cleverly constructed so it's logical to laugh at it and then laugh. They are intrigued not only by what's said but also who said it and how it was said. It happens all the time that a woman finds a man's joke to be funny merely because she likes him, vice versa. If she doesn't like you, she won't consider anything you say as funny. That means you have to work a lot harder if you fail to build rapport with her during the initial encounter. Women are emotional and not logical. Play by this rule. Women are instinctive. Do you know that a woman typically decides her relationship with another man in the first half minute from meeting him? That's why first impression is emphasized so much by so many dating experts. A woman almost always knows instinctively whether you can be a lover within minutes. If you've made a good impression upon her, good for you. The humor techniques you're about to learn will almost certainly work big time following that. If you've not made a good impression, move on to the clear goal of obtaining a favorable impression with humor in the next few minutes or as quickly as possible. Women are instinctive. You should use it to your advantage. Women want to be dominated. The reason women like power and fame is that they are looking to be dominated by the right kind of men. It's nature. It's in the blood. All they need is a good reason. Being made laugh is a good enough reason. Do you really think women want to control the men they like? Of course not. The fact is that one of the sexes always dominates the other. This is true everywhere in nature. It could be the male dominating the female, or it could be the other way round. What about the human society? You have the answer. Women sometimes take on the dominant role only to sift through the guys to find the ones they are willing to be controlled by. Why do women play hard to get only in the beginning and not after the relationship? You have the answer. Usually this happens to a woman at a subconscious level, so never ever point it out to her. She might get offended if there's not enough intimacy between you and her yet. Women want to feel smart. Here comes the manipulative part. If you are able to craft and present pieces of information together to a woman so that she can get it or say, "Oh, that's how it works," you have more power to make her laugh. There are usually two means you can do this: release critical information one by one in conversation so that she's feeling as if she's solving a mystery. Women love that. And that's why short stories often work better than one-liners. Sometimes instead of telling jokes with obvious punchlines, crack a joke that takes her some time to get at. Many adult jokes will do the job. You might want to keep an amused look the entire time so she doesn't think it's just a lame joke. Women want to picture things. This is also referred to as the imagery technique. Basically, women love to picture things in their minds. This is in tandem with their inclination to feel. Paint wonderful picture to women with your words. If you're also in the picture, congratulations, she'll fall for you very soon if not yet. Use evocative and poetic language to arouse imagination. Intersperse in your speech words like these: pounding, pure wholeness, compassion, throb, swift quiver, hailstorm, eternity, never-ending, stretch, tremor, crush, twist, mind-boggling. You can train your ability in describing things in evocative languages by reading some novels. Just one good book will give you many great ideas. I highly recommend Anne Rice's novels. She wrote a series called The Vampire Chronicle. It's crazy stuff. But you gotta admit she's a master at making her readers fantasize, which is exactly what you want women to do. Start talking to women with a clear and precise objective in mind. Upon first contact, the goal is to break the ice. Second contact is to establish trust and build rapport. Third is to develop romantic feelings. Fourth is to develop a next date. Along the way it is crucial that you keep yourself focused on the outcome. By contact I didn't mean date. Contacts compose the sequence you should follow to make women fall in love. All contacts can happen one after another the first time a woman meets you. In fact, the faster you move into the relationship, the more wildly women fantasize, and the better for you. The 3-second rule. I heard about the 3-second rule long ago and it never ceased to amaze me. Simply stated, the 3-second rule commands you to approach a woman you like in 3 seconds after noticing her. For example, a hot babe catches your eyes at a party or a bar. Immediately you should smile at her and start walking towards her. You are allowed a buffer time of no more than 3 seconds. If you stick to the 3-second rule, You'll establish an image of decisiveness and strong confidence. Women love such demonstration of masculinity. Also, in 3 seconds you won't have time to think of the excuses why you shouldn't take action. This rule always brings me pleasant surprises, especially when I started out, because women, even the hot ones, reacted so much more positively than those times when I allowed myself more time to muster up my courage. Test it out and you'll never regret it. Maybe for the first time you'd say, "I really did that. But hey, that's me, I'm glad I did it anyway." Here's a trick that never failed me. You can approach a woman as soon as you see her and say, "Remember me?" She'd invariably reply, "No." And you can say, "You will." The next time you walk by her, maybe in a few minutes, you can say, "Remember me now?" And add, "From just now," and smile. You'll love it. What would happen if you miss your chance? What else can you do apart from cursing yourself? Well, you can always go back to her and use this line: "Do you believe in love at first sight? Pause, or should I walk by again?" Pick-up women. Michael Cunningham, a psychology professor at the University of Louisville, spent many years studying the success rate of various approaches and pick-up lines. In the 1980s he sent graduate students out to bars to do field research, and the findings were not too surprising. He found that the direct approach was the best. The most successful line was, "I feel a little embarrassed about this, but I'd like to meet you." The runner-up line was, "What do you think of the band?" Running a close third was the obvious, "Hi." It worked nearly as well as the others. On the other hand, many other experts claim that pick-up lines simply don't work. Monica Moore, Ph.D., professor of psychology at Webster University in St. Louis, as quoted in Sex: A Man's Guide, by Bechtel, is one of them. Dr. Monica has been studying courtship issues since 1978 and claims that women have sized you up and decided whether or not they will sleep with you within the first few seconds of meeting, despite the pick-up lines you use. She commented that picking up women is more of a process than an event. It is a sensual dance between a man and a woman, enticing the other into deeper and deeper levels of intrigue and sexual tension. Here's my take on this: either opinion could be true. Pick-up line may work or may not, just like body language. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is whether you have the courage to risk rejection. No one in his right mind likes rejection, but the truth of the matter is that if you're only willing to pick up a woman with absolute certainty, you'll probably never pick up one, because we simply don't know whether our pick-up lines or our body languages are right, until we test them out. Let's put it more logically. If you don't take action, you definitely won't get the women you want. If you do, you might or you might not. Where does your only chance lie? Well, logically we all know that. It's the emotional impediments that stop us from approaching beautiful women. You need to step out of your own shoes and take the role of an observer. Treat everything as an experiment. See yourself as a dealer instead of a player. And don't forget, the power of humor you develop as you read through this book will dramatically lower the risk of rejection. You can always consider practicing first before going out to the real world, but just don't use it as an excuse to avoid taking action. Simply record yourself saying a pick-up line either with a tape recorder or a computer. Pretend you are meeting a new woman. What would you say and how would you reply? Play it back to hear yourself, adjust the details. Repeat until you're half ready. You might never think you're ready enough, and then go out to test it out. Build rapport with women. Rapport is a relation marked by harmony, affection and mutual respect. When you're in rapport with a woman, she'll treat you the way she treats a close friend whom she's ready to confide in. With an overwhelming urge to understand as well as to be understood, she'll find everything between you and her agreeable. Potentially, you can make her do anything if there's a strong rapport between you and her. She'll look at you as though she's looking at herself. In some instances, she'll think she's found her soulmate. Moreover, when two people come into rapport naturally, their body language tends to coincide. They begin to speak the same language. And they seem to go through the same kind of emotion and exhibit similar reaction to environment and any other external event. In order to effectively build rapport with a woman, you should start to pace her, or mirror her actions. Simply perform similar or even identical actions as she does. For example, if she frequently gestures with her left hand while speaking, do the same. Believe me, 99% of the time she won't notice it. If she does notice, you've probably overdone it. Just tell her something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that," with an innocent look. It'll be as if you are holding a mirror up to her, so what she sees, hears, or feels matches her reality and she sees another self in you. The two of you will become one. Here are some suggestions on rapport building with a woman. Autosuggestion. Repeat this line silently: "We're like each other and you can count on me." No, it's not silly. Some people call this affirmation, and it's a technique salespeople often use to increase confidence. They'll buy from me, they will buy from me, as well as what motivational speakers tell their audience to. Pace her speech rate. It might feel unnatural at first, but you'll get used to it in a few minutes and it'll become an automatic part of your own behavior. And don't worry, she won't notice it. Practice rapport building systematically. It's a good idea to practice pacing one thing at a time: posture, facial expression, mood, gestures, speech rate, and so on. After you become adept at pacing, you will be able to do it without thinking about it. Practice rapport building frequently. Building rapport in real life whenever you can. For example, you can practice sitting in the same position as a woman you're watching. Modify accordingly, of course. You don't want to sit with legs crossed all the time. Develop a strong sensory acuity. When you practice rapport building and pace other people's body language, tonality, pay attention to how the other party reacts and how your own feelings change as you adopt different or even conflicting body languages. This will sharpen your sensory acuity in identifying how women are feeling during contacts. Flirt with women. Most women can tell instantly whether you are flirting with them or not. When you are not flirting, you are just holding normal conversations and observing all social norms and courtesy, but when you are flirting, you are playing with her, and it's obvious. At least you should make it obvious that you are not being serious. For example, if you say to a woman, "Hi, you look very attractive." You probably have a boyfriend, right? In a normal tone, you are not flirting. But if you say, "Hi, I realize that you're not getting attention from men, so I thought it'd be polite to come here and pay attention to you," in an obviously joking tone, you're flirting. All I'm saying is that there is a big difference between normal conversation reads boring and never leading to sexual tension and attraction, and flirting. In most cases the latter comes after the former. Keep in mind that flirting is adult verbal play but does not equal sex talk. The latter is a big no-no in most encounters whatsoever. By starting a sexual innuendo too soon, you'll probably never get the chance to continue the conversation, contrary to what many Hollywood movies want you to believe. Needless to say, humor is a central element of flirting. If you can crack a joke at any time and make a woman laugh while at the same time direct her gradually towards sexual content, you are one step closer to bringing her to your bed. Check out my bonus booklet, Flirting Mastery, to become a flirting machine if that's what you want. The 4 types of women. First, let me point out that different women demand different strategies from you to make them laugh. What's funny to a woman could completely turn off another one, or to the same woman in a different situation. You can divide women into 4 broad categories. 1. Women whom you come into contact with and will disappear in a short time if you don't establish connection, such as those you meet in bookstore, supermarket, bus stop, etc. Frankly speaking, your ability to make her laugh is not as important as other picking up skills, though humor is still the best weapon. 2. Women whom you meet for a brief time on a regular basis, such as the cashier at your local store, your neighbor, etc. Your ability to exercise your laughing power is critical. 3. Women whom you are going to be with for some time just once, such as in a meeting, social gathering, party, etc. Here humor serves as a great tool to connect the two of you. 4. Women whom you will be meeting for some time, for many times, such as classmates, your tennis dance partners, colleagues. Stay away from that, in my opinion, etc. For the first 2 categories, your ability to deliver an appropriate joke with brevity is the crucial factor, which, combined with other skills, such as flirting and asking for phone numbers outside the scope of this book, but there are plenty of free tips online for those can give you more opportunities to demonstrate your humor. For the next two categories, you can take your time and plan well in order to reach a higher hit ratio. You need to follow your instinct at first in choosing a more universal joke or one-liner to make women in the first two categories laugh, whereas you can slowly adjust the flavor of your humor to match the taste of women in the latter two categories. All roads lead to laughter. There are many ways to make women laugh. You can do so by making a woman feel happy, such as sending her flowers, talking sweetly to her, and make her feel in love. You can make a woman laugh by making her feel intrigued, such as telling her a story, performing magic tricks, or showing her an exquisite painting. You can also make her laugh by tricking her into a funny situation or a funny realization, such as making fun of her or asking her lame riddles which she'd never be able to solve. The possibilities are endless. And in order to qualify as a funny guy, you should be able to 1. Think funny, creativity 2. Talk funny, tonality 3. Write funny, wisdom 4. Act funny, body language. I'll lead you through all these aspects in the rest of this book. What makes women laugh? The first question we need to ask ourselves is, what makes women laugh? Or rather, what makes people laugh? As Ken Dodd pointed out, a laugh is a noise that comes out of a hole in your face. Anywhere else and you are in big trouble. Well, why do we as human beings laugh after all? We often heard the phrase, "I can't help laughing at it." But we seldom heard such saying like "I did my best to laugh," or "try to laugh a bit more." That is because the harder you try laughing, the less likely you will succeed. There is so far no biological explanation of the true mechanism of laughter, but there are a handful of basic psychological factors contributing to laughter, which itself can be categorized into many kinds. Some guys talk about the art of making women laugh. Sure, they can call themselves artists as they like, but the problem is, once something becomes an art, you won't have rules to rely on and you can't measure the results. Making women laugh suddenly becomes an uncertain event. But the fact is, making women laugh is a science. I've devoted the past 5 years of my life to study the science of making women laugh, which involved tons of textbook theories. It could get quite intimidating, dry and technical, opposed to what you might think. I came to the conclusion that human beings' reactions to different types of humor stimuli are predictable. And there are tested and proven methods to match a humorous line and a subject's education, personality, and cultural background to create laughter. Any man, regardless of looks, intelligence, education, and personality, can learn the mechanism of humor and laughter and develop his own style of humor. Remember that last time you met a long-lost friend and laughed at things that happened long ago? It could be an anecdote involving the teacher you disliked. To someone else outside your social contacts it might not be funny at all. You laugh because you can find incongruence between two things, which may appear perfectly normal to someone else. So here goes the more formal reason of laughter. The human brain cannot accommodate two fundamentally conflicting ideas at the same time. The logic of our minds needs to give vent to such tension, released through laughter. That explains why a restrained laughter doesn't feel as good as an unrestrained one. And what factors could possibly induce such a conflict? Punchline: whatever you heard at last is in conflict with what you thought. This is also called a surprise, which can be of many kinds. Unconventional, something that contradicts the custom. For example, if you see the sentence, "Mary had a little lamb," what comes to your mind? And what do you think happened to Mary? Now here's the punchline: her gynecologist had a heart attack. And how about this: two fish in the tank? What kind of picture do you see? The second part: one fish to another. Do you know how to drive this thing? You see, we laugh because of our inability to take those ideas as normal and absorb it. Ambiguity: when a word has different meaning under different circumstances. For example, do you agree with sex before marriage? Not if it holds up the ceremony. The preposition before can denote different amount of time, depending on how you perceive it. In this case, we were again tricked into a conflict between two possible interpretations of the same word. Thinking about an inappropriate implication. For example, the word "it" often comes with a sexual connotation. Once we relate sex to especially something serious, we cannot help laughing because it is both hilarious and inappropriate. Consider this one: have you finished the book I lent you? Can I give it to you later? Sure, but can I have my book back too? Contradictions within a joke. The most obvious type of conflict, and typically a trick on socially agreed meaning of a word, phrase, or idiom. Patent: doctor, I'm going to die in 50 seconds. Doctor, hold on, I'll be with you in a minute. You and I both know that 1 minute here doesn't really mean exactly 60 seconds. The joke forces us to think 1 minute in speech is really just 1 minute and 1 minute only, thus introducing a conflict with our past experience. Exaggeration. Needless to say, something that is out of proportion will be in direct conflict with its agreed perception. We say that is not possible and then laugh because that is incongruent with our experience. We usually hear people say, "is so," and that can be frequently used as a basic structure in exaggeration jokes. For example, "he is so stupid that he has the intelligence of a walnut." Pacing. Also known as the rule of 3. I am sure you have frequently heard of the jokes involving 3 people of different nationalities. And that is an instance of pacing. It works in this way: the first 2 subjects are reasonable, albeit increasingly unbelievable, but the third delivers an extreme conflict. You probably have read jokes starting with 3 people on a train or 3 people on an island. Here's another one which you might have seen before. One day 3 people were stuck on an island with cannibals. The cannibals said, "If you do what we say, we won't kill you." So the 3 people followed the orders from the cannibals. The cannibals said, "Go into the forest and pick 10 pieces of the first kind of fruit you see." So the first person came back out of the forest with 10 apples. The cannibals said, "Stick the apples up in your ass without making a facial expression." The person then frowned in pain after the second apple, so the cannibals killed him. The second person came back out of the forest with 10 cherries. The cannibals said, "Put the cherries up your ass without making a facial expression." The person then started laughing on the 10th cherry, so they killed him. In heaven, the person with apples asked the person with cherries, "Why did you start laughing at the 10th cherry? You were almost there." The person replied, "I saw the third person come out with pineapples." Stereotype and insider jokes. We laugh usually because we know something is not true, and sometimes we laugh because we realize that the description is exactly right. We find it funny because it was not supposed to be like that, but it is indeed like that. If you know what I'm talking about. Again, conflict. Such stereotyping jokes can be simply created by telling the plain truth. As Mark Twain said, "Get the facts first. You can distort them later." Superiority, stupidity, absurdity. These perhaps belong to an altogether different category of reasons for laughter. Here we laugh because we feel good about ourselves, such as when we compare ourselves to stupid acts or absurd ideas. This is also why we don't tend to laugh as hard when stupidity befalls on ourselves.